What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I will be talking about what went down over the weekend in the top rank card and the UFC card. Also, talking about the second leg of the Liga MX Semifinals. First, I'll start talking about the UFC card. It started off great by surprise with Themba Gorimbo getting a decision victory over Takashi Sato in a fight where some people think it should have been stopped before the decision. Now, that fight was followed up by Natalia Silva knocking out her opponent in a great victory in the first round. Then came the fight that surprised us all, as Chase Hooper is that guy. He scored a unanimous decision victory over Nick Fiore in his lightweight debut. A very dominant performance by Chase. Who do you guys think Chase should fight next? Obviously, the UFC is going to take him real slow and not rush him into anything crazy yet. Now, getting a little bit more into the card, Michael Johnson was knocked out cold by Diego Ferreira. A very crazy knockout. I didn't think it would happen, but it did. For the co-main event, Edmund Shabazian versus Anthonyhernandez. It was stopped in the third round as Anthony really set himself apart with the groundwork. He was dominant on the ground and in the ground and pound. Now, Shabazian really didn't have an answer for it. Now, for the main event, what a fucking fight between these two warriors, especially Angelahill. She took so many shots and was able to stay in the fight at all times. Mackenziedern really showed out. She was dominating Angela on her feet and especially on the ground. There was a point in the fight where Angela took a knee to her face. She was hurt, but she survived. This was a very different Dern. She was ferocious. The ground and pound was crazy. In the post-fight interview, she said that she would like to fight, probably against Rose Namajunas. What do you guys think about this fight? I would 100% want to see this fight. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. The top rank card started off pretty good as well, with, in my opinion, a top 5 prospect in boxing right now. Abdullah Mason pulling off a stoppage victory. Next, Floyd Cashflow Diaz. It's pretty obvious what he's working on and what he needs to improve before he can take a real step up. He still does get hit a lot and he doesn't have the power to keep his opponents off of him. But he did a really good job and he got a decision victory. Next, Emiliano Vargas. He had a really good performance, stopping his opponent in the second round with a beautifully placed body shot. Now, the main event of the prelims was amazing. Juntonakatani versus Andrew Maloney. It was pretty much complete domination by Nakatani. He was able to drop Andrew in the second. Now at the 11th round, Nakatani was also able to drop Andrew. And it looked pretty bad for Andrew. He made the count and continued. I felt as if Andrew's corner should have thrown the towel in, and that didn't happen. At the break, they went to Maloney's corner, where Maloney's corner tells him they're going to stop the fight, but they still didn't. And in the 12th, Nakatani lands a brutal left hand, laying Maloney out cold. Now, Nakatani won, but Maloney's corner shouldn't have had to second guess their decision. There's more to life than boxing. For all we know, there could have been lifelong implications from this. Now, to open up the main card, Raymond Muratalla versus Jeremiah Nakatila. The fight really started and ended in the second round as Raymond landed a devastating shot that wobbled Nakatila. Raymond continued to pressure him up against the ropes, landing shots and even having his head snap back, causing the referee to call this fight in the second round. Now, I feel Raymond made the statement by knocking out Nakatila in 2 rounds. I don't think it was early, as it could have only gone worse for Nakatila. It was pretty obvious there was something wrong about Nakatila. I believe he only landed 2 shots in the whole first round. Now, Raymond did call out the winner of the main event, but I don't think he's ready just yet. The co-main event of the night was Oscar Valdez versus Adam Blue Nose Lopez. It wasn't the best, but Oscar Valdez was able to win the fight in pretty much dominating fashion. Now for the much anticipated main event, Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko. This fight was as close as one could be. I've watched this fight back multiple times since Saturday, and I don't see how you're able to give a decision of 116 to 112 to Devin. Devin was doing a great job keeping his distance and, of course, had his jab going from the start. Now, Devin was really ripping Loma's body. Loma did start the fight off faster than anyone would have expected. Then he inevitably started to slow down. That could be from him just getting tired or the body shots Devin was landing. Now, for Loma, I wouldn't say it was vintage Loma because I don't believe we'll ever see that again, but it was damn close. He was doing a great job changing angles, throwing many different combinations, and pressuring Devin when he was backing up. It even seemed as if he hurt Devin at times, especially in the 11th round. But then it just seemed as if he let off the gas and let Devin rest. It could have been because he was tired, but those are the moments you have to push through. For all the talk leading up to this fight saying Loma was a dirty fighter, I feel the dirty one was Haney. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen I had this fight ending in a draw. Now, 115, 113 scorecards aren't the problem. The problem is Dave Moretti's 116, 112 card. There is no way Devin won by 4 rounds. This is a major reason why everyone is saying boxing is dead because of scorecards like this. One of the little things I heard from the broadcast was them saying how Nevada brings Moretti in for special fights, and I don't know why the fuck they would bring him in. I feel Devin and his dad need to give him the rematch. It's still possibly the best fight to make for Devin, just so he avoids Shakur a little longer. During the broadcast, they were comparing Devin to Floyd so many times. Now, even Floyd gave his toughest opponents an immediate rematch. And what would Floyd do in that rematch? He'd leave it without a doubt in people's minds the second time who was the real winner. Now for some news. First, for some UFC news. In the post Now for some news. First, for some UFC news. In the post-fight press conference, Dana White did say that Kamaru Usman asked to fight Hamzat Chimaev. Kamaru won't do a catch weight, and that's holding the fight back. So the UFC is looking at other options for Hamzat. And in the boxing world, reigning Olympic gold medalist Andy Cruz is making his pro debut on. And in the boxing world, reigning Olympic gold medalist Andy Cruz is making his pro debut on the 15th of July, fighting in a 10-round fight in Detroit. Finally, the Liga MX Semifinals. First, talking about Monterrey versus Tigres. The game started off pretty slow. There was a point where it did seem as if Nahuel Guzman was going to do another pendejada. He was able to get out of it though. There was, of course, that head clash between El Angulo and Funes Mori. It was a pretty much boring game between the two. Being very cautious, they were both very defensive, and at the 75th minute, I thought Monterrey was about to strike, and that was until it got called back for a handball. In that play, Noel Guzman would have been 100% at fault. And coming right after that, at the 78th minute, Sebastian Cordova strikes again with a nice header after a good center from Luis Quinones, putting Tigres up 1-0. And that's how it ended. It wasn't the best football, but that's the Liga MX for you. Tigres is in the final. Besides that, this Clásico really sucked. Now for the best Clásico outside of Europe, America versus Chivas. The first half was pretty good with both sides attacking well, and at around the 19th minute, Don Armando Hoyos, Piojo Alvarado, pretty much taking on all of America by himself, then filtering a nice ball to Ronaldo Cisneros, who was actually, I think he was speaking Portuguese and looked a little bit darker this time, who, with luck, got it past Luis Malagon and Sebastian Cáceres, putting Chivas up 1-0. Now, America was still dominating this half, having 66% possession time over Chivas. The referee was shit, not letting them play, really giving out yellow cards for nothing. I feel as if 3 players for Chivas were non-existent in the first half, those being Nene Beltran, who was losing balls like crazy. He couldn't handle the pressure America was putting on him. Another was Pocho. Again, it was a wonder if he was even playing out there. The third being Alexis Vega. Besides from the free kick he won, which he sent so high it's a part of the Azteca renovation plans to try and get it unstuck, he really didn't do much. Most of the shots he took were either way too wide or way too high. Now, for the second half, it started off again with the same dominance from America continued. They spent really the whole first part of the second half on our half, and Chivas had no other choice to defend themselves. Now, all this led to at about the 56th minute, an amazing header from Diego Valdez puts America leveled in the game score and one up in aggregate. And about 8 minutes later, America gets left with 10 men after Alvaro Fidalgo makes one of the dirtiest slides I have seen, as he doesn't go for the ball at all, 100% going to injure Nene. And about 4 minutes after that, it looks as if Chivas scored and it gets called back after a really boneheaded play by Pocho, really showing that low self-control he has by tripping Miguel Layun. Now, personally, I don't believe that goal should have been called back, as it looked like if they both went in for a clash and their legs got tangled. But that didn't stop Chivas from scoring after a nicely executed free kick leads to Alan Mozo, scoring. Chivas needed one more goal to advance, and they got it. It couldn't have been from a better player. Chiquete Orozco is able to connect on a header from Nene Beltran, and that put us in the final. A canterano who spent his whole life representing Chivas. Tan Ortiz really messed up by taking all his delanteros out to defend against Chivas. Now, Chivas are through to the final to face Tigres, just like in 2017. The first leg will be in the Universitario on Thursday. The second would be at the stadium that's never lost a final, El Estadio Akron, on Sunday. Now, I want to end this episode off by offering my condolences and prayers to former WBO champion Joe Smith Jr., whose brother Alex was fatally shot last night. Sorry to end on that note, but thank you guys for staying this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you later on this week as we talk about the upcoming boxing fights and Liga MX Clausura finals.